What up, everybody? You are now tuned into my podcast, Difficult People Chronicles. I'm Seriously Focused Johnnie, SF Johnnie, your host, your life coach, and today is a Q&A. It is called When the Disrespect Hits Differently. SFJ, my cousin, competes against me. Growing up, we did much of the same things, sports, same schools, had the same friends. I moved. He doesn't see me unless something is going on. My father said when he asked about me, my family, although my dad talks highly of me, he finds something to say bad about me. His feelings towards me now that we are older is to the point we cannot sit at the same table. You talk about energy, and this is something I can feel even though we are not at the same table. How do you get over this? I take it that when you say sitting at the same table, you mean at the same stage in life. I just want to put it out there for everybody to understand what's going on. I feel like you mean the same stage in life, or you mean literally sitting at the same table when you have, like family functions, regardless of what, y'all can't come to peace for whatever reason. So that took me to Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. One of the things I always say, and it was said to me by an elder, was protect your core. And basically, what they were saying was guard your heart. When the disrespect hits differently, it hits home, your core, your heart. You feel it piercing your heart like a sharp edge knife or something. And a lot of times, this disrespect or jealousy or envy or hate, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, these spirits, they try to kill your spirit. They get happy, like I said, when you fail or you fall. I always say that. They try to sabotage your happy moments. So if, say, your wife or someone just delivered a baby or something good is going on and you're happy about it and it affects you in a good way, they will get mad and they try to sabotage your happy moments. The goal for them is to see you in misery. They get mad when they don't see your shortcomings, your downfalls, your mishaps, your misery, your pain, your suffering, your struggles, even accidents. If they don't hear about these things, and they put on a face, sometimes some people would put on a face, just making it seem like they care about you so they could get close, so they could hear about these shortcomings and downfalls and mishaps and accidents. But when you find that a person is so angry and they hate you and they despise you that much, they're not even going to put on a face. They just sit back and they want to wait for a bad moment to happen to you. And they treat you some kind of way. And then if someone else in, like, say, your surrounding circle calls them on their actions or the way they look at you or whatever the situation is, they play victim and they find something to blame on you, even if it's a lie. When the hate and the disrespect hits differently or the hate runs deep, what happens is, being a child of God, you can feel the negative energy. When you have that love in your heart, you could feel it. And you got to be careful that their negative energy doesn't transfer to you, where you start getting angry and stuff like that, because the anger will pierce your heart. So you got to guard your heart. You have to. When someone close to you is jealous of you and stabs you in your back, or they hate you and you could see it gets to a point where the mask comes off and they can no longer hide how they feel about you. And you might not have never done anything to them. It could be whatever's going on in their life. I felt that this was a perfect question to answer, because I recently went through a situation where my mom's, sometimes I take her to certain places. Wherever she asks me to take her, I take her. And I took her to a family member's house. And before we got there that morning, well, let me back up a bit. When I was younger and this person, we were little kids, my grandmother said to me, that person is going to grow up to be jealous of you and hate you. And I said, and I looked at my grandmother and I was like, yeah, because at the time we were younger. But I felt in my heart that I didn't want that to happen. So over the years, I always prayed about this person. I always did over and beyond because I wanted to keep a loving connection between myself and that person. I wanted to support them in their endeavors, business goals, deals. Anytime somebody talked bad about them, I would have their back. But as I got older, I realized that I had no control over their actions. And I saw exactly what my grandmother was talking about. What she said is the way the person looks at you. So I'm going to talk another episode about side eye because that's been coming up recently also. What's the word, the message for everybody? But today I'm gonna answer this question. So back to what I was saying, I went to drop my mother off at a family member's house. Now that morning when I woke up, I said I don't really like going over there because when I do, I feel some kind of way. I feel sad or I feel annoyed and I can't shake it. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. So this time around, I woke up, I prayed and, meditate. I had a moment to myself where I just got deep rooted in prayer, started going over scripture. Then that day I dropped my mother off and I said I wasn't staying and I went on about my business. My day was going beautiful and everything else like that. Later on in the day, I went back to go pick up my mother and then I went against my better judgment. And I know I talked to you all about don't go against your gut feeling, but this time I was just like, I felt like I had everything under control. My feelings was under control, X, Y, Z. And I'm human. Don't judge me, please. So I went inside and I conversed for a little bit. When I was at this person's house, they side eyed me, turned their back to me, spoke to my moms, and never said a word to me. That side eye says a whole nother story. And then all of a sudden that feeling came back. So immediately I got up and something said leave. So I got up and I left. So on my way driving, my mom's was in the car. I didn't feel the need to discuss the situation with my mother because I felt like my mother's at an age where I just don't want to bring on certain things to my mom. I want her to enjoy life and to the fullest. So I noticed that over the next few days, the feeling I was feeling when I was high spirited, it just plunged and it was at an all natural. It was at an all low and I couldn't shake it. And then a friend of mine texted me and was saying that, when she encounters certain people, she feels some kind of way, and I felt like we were going through the same thing. So that day, I went over her house because I had to go over her house anyway, and I went to drop off something, and we sat down and talked, and I felt like that a lot of times when I'm going through things, she will say one word or maybe a sentence that I need to, that's a message for me. And what she said to me when I told her my situation, I told her how I've been feeling. She said that your spirit wasn't welcome. And I was just like, wow. Now, everything else she said, I heard, but it was that your spirit wasn't welcome. So I didn't tell her what my plans were, but what she said was, if I was you, I wouldn't go back there again. And I said to her, and then I said to her, I said the same thing to myself. Knowing how I am, over the next few days, I couldn't keep what happened to me from my mother. And I ended up telling her. My mother was like, basically, in life, people have the same opportunities as you. And what happens is I don't understand why people get mad because you do what you do and they have those opportunities to do the same thing. And basically what it is just whatever their hearts desire or whatever God tells them to do, they have that opportunity to do it. But what happens is they sit down and let time pass, or they do other things and then they get mad because their time is running out, and so they need someone to blame, and that someone is you. What I did to bring my spirits back up to my natural high, because it got to the point where I started speaking negative, where I was just questioning a lot of things that I shouldn't have been questioning. It's just questions I was asking that I shouldn't have been asking, things I shouldn't have been saying. And I once I caught myself, I knew that I didn't want to be in that feeling anymore. So what did I do? One of the, like I said, you have to guard your heart. I constantly read over the scripture of Proverbs 4:23, which is, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The reason being is that I didn't want that person's anger to transfer to me, where all of a sudden I change. I didn't want that. So that's why I stood on the scripture. Because when people have negative energy, it's very easy for you to take on however they're feeling, or like how I was talking negative and questioning certain things. It's probably the same thing that that person is doing in their head. They're questioning their life. They're questioning why you got all the blessings, or why you're looking happy, or why your family is happy. Why? And then it's happening to you. So you have to protect your heart, what goes in and what goes out of your heart. Number three, I've removed myself from that environment. And I said, anytime I have to take my mother there, I will help her come outside or whatever. Because, you know, a lot of times West Indian mothers, fathers, family members, they always got baggage. They always got groceries they leave with. Always got something that they're coming home with, or boxes of something. So I will help her into the car with all her stuff, but I'm not going inside. Number four, occupy your time and don't consume yourself with that person, because it becomes wasted time. One of the things that I am blessed with is out of sight, out of mind. It's something that I have picked up as a child. If I don't see you, I don't think about you. I really don't. And if for some reason you come across my mind just out of the blue, when I'm not thinking about you, I'll say a little prayer and that's it. But it prevents me from being in that person's company where they can throw darts, or say bad things, or even get aggressive and try to fight me. And the reason why I say that is because this person that I felt some kind of way about after the fact, I've always had love for this person, always supported this person. Anything they did, I supported them, even had their back. But what I notice is that they didn't do the same for me. And when I say loyalty has to make sense, they didn't have loyalty to me. So this is not the first time they turned on where I felt some kind of way. What I would say is that when I was at this house and this person treated me a certain kind of way, they greeted my mother and turned their back towards me. Never said hello. Constantly, like, the first time, I would say the first time I ever witnessed a not so good encounter was when, I don't remember exactly what it was, but if I said something like, this cup is blue, they would say the cup is white or something. And then they try to start an argument. And I noticed this aggression where they were trying to fight me. Like, it was like they were ready for me to react so the situation could escalate and they could try to fight me. And it was something so small. Like, I said something like, oh, the meeting is on Tuesday, or such and such, or I can't do this because of. And immediately they tried to pick something out and create an argument. Another time was when I went somewhere and I refused to be around certain people that were negative. Now, what happens is, when you a child of God, there's just certain people you can't be around. And there's certain people you got to be careful of. It goes on to say with the side eye. So there was a person, a cousin of mine, who side eyed me when I was just talking random about some things like many moons ago. This is another situation. And this person, the way they looked at me, I said, I don't want to be around that person. So when I went to this particular function one day and I chose to be outside and not be amongst the crowd, the same person whose house I visited recently was there. And they said, well, why you're not going inside? And I said, no, I'm on the phone. I have something to do real quick and X, Y, and Z. And immediately their face crunched up and they got angry. You got to be careful not to put yourself in an environment full of snakes. Yeah, you got to be careful because you put yourself in an environment full of snakes, you're going to get bit by more than one snake. So I didn't put myself amongst the crowd. That was the second time I saw the face of that person. The third time was when I was walking down the street and they saw me and they deliberately looked another way to pretend they didn't see me. But what happens is when that person wants something, they'll put their self in my lane, in front of my face to be noticed so they could get what they want. So they're a user. And then I also witnessed this person saying one time, specifically, if, what did they say? They said that a person is my best friend only if I can use them. Because if I can't use them, it doesn't make sense for me to be friends with them. And I was like, wow. And they didn't mean use in a good way. They meant use for whatever they wanted. And I said, wow. And it stuck in my mind. So, number 5, this is just something that my grandmother always said. She said, look your best and never let them see you sweat. Because a lot of times the enemy is trying to see if their actions, reactions, spells, whatever they do to you is working. And even though sometimes whatever they're doing is not working at all, still look your best because they want you to look your worst. So, like I said, here are the 5 things. Stand on the scripture. Protect what goes in your heart and out of your heart because you don't want to get angry like them. Remove yourself from the environment. Occupy your time and don't consume yourself with that person. Like thinking about that person or why are they mad, because you may never even know why they're mad. You're going to have to go to God and find out what's the situation. And if it's something that you did wrong, ask God for forgiveness. But out of sight, out of mind. Because people will sit there and tell you, oh, for some people that you should address the situation. But when that person is beyond angry and it's a situation of hate, that person can hurt you. So going to address the situation is not going to work because I see too many crime stories, too many fatal attractions, too many obsessions, too many situations where a person with a good heart goes to address the situation and it doesn't go the way they had thought. And that person ends up trying to make the situation escalate, turn it around, twist it, and then try to kill you. Number 5, always look good and never let them see you sweat. And if you want to really know what's going on with the situation, go to God in prayer. Because even if you go to that person and address the situation, a lot of times people play victim and they're never going to tell you the truth. They're never going to sit there and say, oh, the reason why I feel that way is because I'm jealous of you. Or I really just hate you and I have no reason why. They're not going to say that. A lot of times they twist it around and turn it on you. But like I say, the goal is always for you to be at peace and maneuver around disrespectful, rude people. And you don't want that to be on your heart. You really don't. You want to heal and clear off all that negative energy in your life. And you got to understand that some people may never change. Why? Because That's just because some people are just not ready to deal with whatever issues they have. Some of the issues stem from when they were a child. Some is learned behavior from their parents. Because another thing that I'm finding with certain people that I come in contact with, encounter with, like clients or even just regular, people on the street, is that some of their learned behavior, you see it in their parents, and it's crazy. That's a generational curse. Yeah. So that's how you would get over this person. And you just ask God to quench your heart. Quench your anger and remove whatever negative energy, because that's the only way you're going to be at peace. So if you want to know more, schedule a one-on-one session. All the links is underneath. Go to my website for suggested topics. Put in the subject box topic and email me. Check out my store next week. Or is it this week? This week, Friday. Yes, I'll be loading a live video, so you'll get to see what I look like. Yay! And what else? I think that's about it. Love me more and I love you more. And love yourself more, not to engage with negative behavior. Later.